I was so close to finishing the game. Just one more step. And that step was having the baby of the male lead. Even though all three of my targets had completely stopped caring about me, the system told me that if I had the baby, I would win. But when I was 7 months pregnant, my husband, who was the CEO of a famous group, rushed into the hospital to take me away. My childhood friend pushed me onto the operating table himself. My parents signed the papers outside. No matter how much I begged, they took my baby away. They needed the umbilical cord blood for my sister, Jane. I was left there alone on the operating table, listening as my baby's cries slowly faded away. The system then told me I had failed and would die. But as my life was really ending, why were all those people who used to say I should just die suddenly losing their minds? In the maternity ward, the doctor put down his tools and gently told me that the baby was healthy and beautiful. I felt so relieved and started to get up from the bed. But suddenly, the door to the examination room burst open and a group of people rushed in. Leading them was my husband, Jack, the CEO. He was also my third target, but he had only ever cared about Jane. The doctor was about to tell them off, but the bodyguards in black suits dragged him out. Jack walked slowly towards me. His cold, emotionless eyes made me shiver. He looked at my stomach and I could see he thought it was barely useful now. Then the bodyguards lifted me up. I knew something was wrong and struggled as much as I could. "Jack, what are you doing?" I cried. He grabbed my chin tightly. "Jane is sick and she needs umbilical cord blood from a direct family member. You went through all the trouble of carrying this child, so at least you're good for something." I looked at him, unable to believe what I was hearing. "Jack, the baby is only 7 months old. What are you going to do?" Jack laughed in a way that showed he didn't care. "Deliver early, of course. Don't try to blackmail me with this child. He's lucky to help save Jane." My head felt like it was full of thunder. Jack wanted to force my baby out to help Jane. I pleaded with him. "Jack, please. I'm begging you. He's only 7 months old. A forced C-section won't let him live. Just 3 more months and I'll give birth. Can't we wait until then for the cord blood?" Jack didn't even look at me. 3 months? Sounds like you just want to waste time and let Jane die? But that wasn't true. Jane wasn't even sick. She was just pretending to frame me. Tears ran down my face. "Jack, please. If the baby will die and so will I." Jack sneered. "Now you're scared. Weren't you afraid when you tricked your way into this pregnancy?" "Enough," he said. "That brat wasn't supposed to be here in the first place. Death just means he wasn't blessed." Before I could even cry out, Jack told the bodyguards to put a gag on me. Cold tears fell down my face as I felt completely hopeless. The system's cold voice then spoke. "Detected that the child will be born prematurely. Mission failed. Mission failed. Both mother and child will be removed." Then the system told me I still had one chance. It asked if I wanted to try again. If I could get enough regret from the characters, it would still count as a success. I watched Jack anxiously getting the operating room and doctors ready. Tears filled my eyes as I shook my head. There was no hope. Even if I died, they wouldn't care. In the end, I could never compare to Jane. I used to think Jack was my savior. When my parents and my childhood friend Gary abandoned me for Jane, Jack was like a god to me. When guests teased me while I was working at a hotel, he saved me. And when my parents kicked me out of the house in the middle of a snowstorm, he took me in. Even when he first met Jane, he didn't change. He even told my parents and Gary that he didn't believe I would intentionally hurt my sister. But then at our wedding, Jane took out a small bamboo flute. Jack's eyes lit up and he held Jane's hand, saying he had been looking for her for 10 years. Since then, no matter what I did, if Jane was around, it was wrong. Even our child was a mistake. Lying on the cold operating table, I was as still as a dead body. Jack seemed a little surprised. He looked at me and sneered. "If you knew this would happen, why did you put yourself through all this suffering?" I looked at my hands and feet, bruised from struggling. But I didn't care anymore. I calmly said, "Give me a divorce agreement." Even though I had turned down the last task, the system kept telling me to end things with them. Jack looked at me in disbelief. What did you say? I knew why he was so shocked. Even when he wanted to divorce me for Jane and offered me a lot of money, I never agreed. Even when he ignored me and made me feel small in front of others, I never mentioned divorce. I closed my eyes. Let's divorce, Jack. At least don't let our child be sent away by his own father. Jack seemed stunned for a moment. But then he looked at me with contempt again. Don't think you can make me feel guilty. I hired the best doctors. That brat will be fine. You think everyone is as cold-hearted as you using a child as a tool? Despite the sharp pain inside me, I didn't want to argue anymore. No matter what I said, he wouldn't believe me. I quietly said, Jack, haven't you always wanted freedom? It's just as well. I don't want our child to have you as a dad anymore. Jack stared at me, his expression changing as if he was finally understanding something. Finally, Gary, the lead doctor who was standing beside us, spoke. If you don't sign, how long will Jane have to wait? Jack finally took the divorce papers from his assistant, signed them, and threw them at me. It's your fault. Don't think you'll get a single cent. I didn't even want to ask why it was my fault, and I didn't care about the money. After all, I was about to die. The C-section was quick, only about an hour. I gently touched my belly, feeling a last bit of connection. I'm sorry, little one. Your mom couldn't protect you after all. I felt a tiny movement inside, like a small hand pressing against me. I couldn't hold back anymore and tears fell down my face. Gary, who was standing nearby and was my second target, the one I was supposed to win over, had always vowed to protect the love of his life forever. He looked at my tears and sneered coldly. Oh, please stop pretending. Someone as cruel as you actually cares if your kid lives or dies. I looked at his once kind face, now full of hatred, and I couldn't help but laugh bitterly. Gary, you said you'd protect me forever, I reminded him. I was the one who grew up with him, not Jane. At first, Gary didn't believe I was the one who caused Jane to disappear. When my parents were disappointed in me and locked me up, almost starving me, it was Gary who climbed over from the balcony next door with food. It was the 20th floor, but he wasn't scared. He just said, when we grow up, I'll take you with me. But Jane, even though she had so many friends at school, wouldn't leave Gary alone. After bringing him water during field time again and again, Gary started to mention Jane, wondering if we had misunderstood her. I didn't say anything, and Gary became quiet. At that moment, I finally understood why Gary's feelings for me, which were almost at their highest, suddenly dropped a little. Gary was still nice to me, but little by little, he became even nicer to Jane. He skipped classes for Jane, fought for Jane, and even stabbed the head of the department for her, all because Jane said the department head's eyes made her uncomfortable. That head had been teaching for 20 years and was only known for being strict, not creepy. Jane had just been told off for dressing too provocatively. But Gary went crazy over it, not caring at all. When Gary's feelings for me dropped to 30%, his craziness reached me. Gary, who hadn't picked me up in ages, brought a bag of my favorite snacks one day. I followed him without suspecting anything to an abandoned warehouse. Gary's deadly stare knocked me to the ground. You're a girl, too. How could you have the heart to hurt Jane? You spread those nasty rumors about her and now the old department guy has his eye on her. No matter how much I cried or tried to explain, Gary ripped off my clothes and took pictures of me in my underwear. Before leaving, he took my clothes away. You like spreading rumors. Let's see how you like being a real one. I cried in the warehouse, too scared to come out. But this time, Gary didn't come back to save me. Late at night, a homeless man found me. I fought him off and escaped only after hitting him over the head with a brick. Later, when my parents picked me up at the police station, Gary claimed I stripped down to try and seduce him. The rumors of me throwing myself at Gary spread everywhere. Everyone called me names and every bad guy wanted to take advantage of me. I went through college terrified and finally got into a top university overseas. But Gary framed me for drugging Jane during our graduate exams, messing up her performance. He threatened me with the photos to make me give up my spot to Jane. My only hope was gone, and he made sure I couldn't try again. It was all because he was afraid I would eventually get a master's degree and hurt Jane again. Since then, I had to take whatever odd jobs I could find to survive. But Gary wouldn't let it go. Whenever I started to do well somewhere, he'd send thugs to cause trouble. It wasn't until I met Jack that his antics finally stopped. That was only because Jane hoped to get closer to Jack through me. Even if Jane didn't love him, he eagerly gave her everything. Just like now, to save Jane's life, he would risk losing his medical license just to perform a C-section on me himself. Seeing me mention his promise from our youth, Gary's dislike for me grew stronger. "Do you really think you're worthy?" he asked, putting on gloves and getting the instruments ready. He placed a gel-covered hand coldly on my belly like he was checking livestock. Then he nodded, satisfied. "Even a tiger doesn't eat its own cubs. Despite how cruel you are, you've raised this baby well. If this child can save Jane's life, I might give you back what you lost." "No need," I replied calmly, knowing that everything I ever had long been taken by Jane. "Gary, here's your promise back." When Gary saw the bracelet on my wrist, surprise flashed in his eyes. It was just a cheap cartoon rope with the color faded over the years. He carefully took it off, his emotions complicated. He had given it to me as a child, saying it was a promise for the future. His voice softened just a little. "I can agree to everything except letting you go." I looked away, no longer wanting to see him. "Gary, when I'm gone, scatter my ashes in the river, okay?" He chuckled at my words. "I always knew you had bad intentions trying to get pity. It's just a C-section. You won't die from this." I forced a smile. "I trust your skills, but everyone dies eventually." Seeing me so quiet, Gary didn't say anything more hurtful. "All right, then. Since you want to use that promise on this, don't regret it. From now on, as long as you don't cause trouble for Jane, we won't have any connection." He turned away, checking the instruments. Gary was so careful that he didn't even want a nurse doing the procedure all by himself. I watched his back and whispered in, "Goodbye, Gary." The system confirmed that our last connection was broken. I asked it confused why I was told to cut ties with the targets when I was going to die anyway. But the system, which was usually so talkative, fell silent. At that moment, my original parents and the first target I met in this world rushed in. They were holding a contract and forcefully made me sign it. It was a surrogacy agreement. As long as Jane was sick, I had to keep having kids to get enough cord blood for her. In the story, my parents, Matt and Kate, were my first targets. The system counted them as one because family bonds were easy to get. I needed both of them to like me 100% for my plan to work. Since Jane got lost, they had cherished me more. Their feelings for me were around 99%. I enjoyed their love for years, thinking it would last forever. Even if my plan didn't work, I thought I would be okay growing old with them. But everything changed the day Jane returned. He said, "I don't know why my sister left me there." They believed him without checking if it was true, thinking I was the one who lost Jane. Every time Jane begged, "Sister, I'll be good. Please don't leave me." Their looks turned cold. They stopped caring about me, only going to Jane's school events and vacations, and only buying things for her. I became invisible at home. They happily ate together, but when I sat down, the room went silent and I didn't even have a plate. Later, they left for business trips and rarely came home. Jane and I were sent to boarding school, but a classmate later told me Jane was a day student and Mom and Dad picked her up every day. Then I found out they had a new home somewhere else. When I brought Jack home, they didn't show up. But when Jane said she liked Jack, they called. They arranged a big party. But after getting Jack drunk, they sent Jane to his room. They locked me out, saying, "This is what you owe Jane." Jack refused and escaped through the window. They found me, urging me to convince Jack to marry Jane. Nothing went their way, and we didn't contact each other for years. They told the neighbors I ran off with a bad guy and died somewhere else. If it wasn't for Jane's illness, I doubt they would have come to see me. I stayed still as they pressed my hand onto the contract to make me a lifelong tool for Jane. Afterward that they told Gary, "Sew it up well or she won't be able to have more." Gary nodded. "Have you signed the surgery consent?" Kate looked confused. Why would we sign? I calmly pointed out, I divorced Jack. You're my closest relatives now. Matt was briefly happy. You finally divorced Jack. He and Jane were meant to be. I didn't argue, just reminded them. Sign the consent form. After all, only you are my direct family now. Kate got angry and slapped me hard. Is that a curse on Jane? Isn't she your sister? My head hit the table and blood ran down my face, making it hard to see. In the blurry blood, Kate's loving face looked like a demon. Matt was worried, but not about me. Will bleeding affect the quality of the cord blood? When Gary said it wouldn't, they relaxed. Then they looked at me with disgust. How did we give birth to such a terrible daughter? Watching them happily sign the form, I said, Dad, Mom, I'll love you forever. That's what I often said to them as a child. Whenever they were sad about losing Jane, saying this made them feel better. Back then, they held little me, saying they couldn't live without me. Now, Matt and Kate paused for a moment, then looked at me like I had betrayed them. We can't afford your love. I forced a smile. Give me a disownment agreement, then. Consider Jane your only daughter. Matt and Kate didn't hesitate, even using a tissue for the paper. They eagerly pressed their fingerprints on it. Let's keep it clean since we're disowning you. Don't use the name we gave our precious daughter. We'll be pure without a vicious girl like you. They turned and left without looking back. My eyes stung with tears. I wasn't sure if it was blood or new tears. Gary injected the anesthesia. My body went numb, but my mind was still clear. I felt the blade cut into my belly, feeling the separation from my child. When the cord was cut, pain shot through me. As Gary gasped, I saw my blood flowing out, forming a pool under the table. He hesitated, then ran out with the cord blood. My premature baby lay still beside me. I reached for him and before I died, I held his tiny hand. In a daze, I heard the baby's voice. Mama, don't cry. Tears poured from my eyes, but I couldn't warm my child's hand. Baby, Mama's coming to join you. Congrats, host. The strategy has transformed. Calculating the regret value for 3 targets. 6 hours on the clock. I floated aimlessly above my body, but couldn't see my child's soul. The system promised we would be together again after the calculation. Gary shockingly came back first. He looked startled by the blood pooling at the door. Don't pass out, he said, grabbing a defibrillator and shocking me. Didn't you love fighting back? Why not now? Wake up or your child will be snatched. My body shook under the shocks. Another one, then another. It seemed alive, but the monitor showed no signs of life. Minutes later, Jack stormed in, annoyed. Did you soften again? Checking on her. I told you we arranged doctors. Why aren't you watching Jane? He froze when he saw my pale body. Luna, wake up. Wake up. Do you want your child to be born without a mom? The sharp beeping of the machine snapped Jack awake. As he took a step, he felt something sticky under his feet. That's when he saw the pool of blood around him. In disbelief, Jack stared at the operating room. It was just him, the baby's body, and a panicked Gary. No doctors, no nurses. He couldn't help but yell, "Where are the doctors and nurses? I arranged. Where is everybody? How could they leave her alone here?" Jack rushed towards the door, only to bump into Matt and Kate. Matt looked annoyed. Why are you guys down here? Is Luna causing trouble again? Jack ignored him, pushed them aside, and shouted at his secretary outside, "Where are the doctors I set up?" Kate chimed in. I sent them to Jane. Why keep so many doctors for this troublemaker Luna? It's just a C-section. No need for such a fuss. Jack turned, his eyes red with anger, and looked at Kate. Did you really pull the doctors away? Matt frowned, stepping forward. Jack, what's with the attitude? Even though you and Jane aren't married yet, we're practically your in-laws. It's just a few doctors. Jane was dying. She needed more attention. Jack slapped him hard. Isn't the one lying in there your daughter? Matt fell to the ground before he could answer, and the medical team Jack had arranged finally returned. They complained about being moved to handle leukemia patients when they were OBGYN specialists. Pointing at Matt, Jack said sternly, "Did you hear them? They can't help Jane with her illness." Kate helped Matt up, her tone displeased. "Having more people makes Jane feel secure. Everyone has kids. Why does Luna need so much fuss over her?" Jack laughed bitterly. "Are you even her mother? She's 7 months pregnant. A forced C-section is incredibly dangerous, don't you know?" Kate's face turned pale. "No way. Isn't she at least 8 or 9 months?" Jack didn't answer her. He urged the doctors to go in and save me quickly, but as they stepped into the surgery room, they froze. Seeing them hesitate, Jack shouted impatiently, "Why aren't you saving her?" "Jack, she's already gone," a doctor said. Jack grabbed him. "Are you kidding me? That person was just being resuscitated. I just saw her chest moving." Seeing him in denial, the doctor looked at him sadly. "Jack, with this much blood loss, it's more than a normal person's body holds. Plus, the heart monitor alerted us. Even a miracle couldn't save her. I'm really sorry for your loss." Jack's hands fell weakly as he stumbled back a few steps. How could this be? His back hit the cold wall as despair filled his face. I arranged for the best doctors. How could a simple C-section go wrong? As he was saying this, he remembered the baby and grabbed the doctor. "There's still a baby. Save the baby, please." The doctor had already noticed the baby's lifeless body. Sighing, he said, "Jack, we lost the baby, too. Being born at 7 months is hard enough." And without immediate medical help, Jack swayed. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. Trembling, he walked forward. It was just a few feet, but it felt like crossing a huge gap. Finally, he saw me holding the baby's hand. Jack roared like a wounded animal and punched Gary hard. "Aren't you a genius, doctor? What kind of surgery did you perform?" Gary fell to the floor, already covered in blood, his lip cut from Jack's punch. But he didn't care. He stood up, clutching the defibrillator again. "Luna, wake up. Quit fooling around. I won't take it anymore." Seeing Gary's craziness only made Jack angrier, and he hit him again. But Gary didn't try to dodge. He just kept his eyes on me. Punch after punch, Jack hit Gary over and over hysterically. But no matter how many times he fell, Gary would stand up again, holding on to the defibrillator. Eventually, Jack broke down. He stopped caring about Gary and tried to hold the baby, but he realized the baby's body had gone stiff. Our hands locked tightly together, unable to be separated. Jack collapsed over me, sobbing uncontrollably. "Luna, Luna." Watching this sad scene, I didn't feel any satisfaction. The system, seeing the chaos, calculated the regret level of these two. Its cold voice had a hint of happiness. "Host, you'll be able to return soon." But I felt nothing. 100% regret level. Impossible. As soon as Jane appeared, they would only care about her. Nobody else could get even a little bit of their attention. After so many disappointments, I had learned not to expect anything from them. I just hoped it would all end soon so I could say sorry to my baby. Getting impatient, Matt and Kate started pushing. "Isn't this over yet? Jane's probably worried sick." Matt said, "Luna, this wretched girl is the best at acting. Don't go soft on her." Jack's secretary handed him the phone. "Jack. Dr. Gary. Jane is looking for you." Jane's sweet voice came through. "Jack. Gary. Is my sister keeping you from leaving? I know. Asking her to save me is hard for her. She hates me so much. But I don't want to give up on living. I'm scared of not getting to see you. I'm scared and need you by my side." Jack snapped back, knocked the phone off, and ordered his bodyguards to drag Gary away. Furious, he threw Matt and Kate into the room. "Do you have no heart? Your daughter is gone." Matt and Kate were confused from falling, but Kate immediately cursed. "Gone? What's she up to this time? I knew it. She's just trying to get you away from Jane. Matt was the first to realize something was wrong. Feeling the stickiness of the blood on him, his voice shook. Whose blood is this? Kate snapped back to reality, staring at the blood-soaked floor, her lips trembling. She had kids, too, so she knew what all that blood meant. Jack ignored them and came over to me, taking off his clothes to cover my body. His fingertips gently touched my cold face and tears fell uncontrollably. Babe, don't be scared. I'll take you and the baby home now. Matt got up and tried to feel my breath, touching my cold skin. He quickly pulled his hand away like he had been shocked. Why? Why so cold? Kate forced a pale smile, came over, and started tidying up my messy hair. Luna, you loved looking pretty. What happened? Her fingers, as gentle as when I was a kid, moved through my hair. It's okay. Mom will comb it out for you. Kate hummed a lullaby from when I was young, combing my hair with her hands. Jack pushed her away, protecting my body. Don't touch. It's your fault Luna's dead. If you hadn't taken the doctor away, she'd still be here. Matt, crying, held Kate, who was still calling me by my nickname, and shouted at Jack. What right do you have? You and Luna divorced, remember? Gary suddenly became aware, broke free from the bodyguards, and stood in front of me holding a scalpel. Luna trusted me with her ashes. You all get lost. Jack didn't back down, and they started fighting with Jack getting stabbed a few times. Matt left Kate and joined the fight. Just then, Jane's voice came from the door. What are you guys doing? Leaving me out there. Unlike before, no one paid her any attention. Jane stepped forward trying to stop the bloody fight and got pushed falling onto the operating table. My body got knocked over, hitting the ground hard. Gary looked over, his eyes red and full of anger. He pushed the two away and gently picked me and the baby up. Jane hurried over. Gary, why carry a corpse? It's bad luck. Gary kicked her to the ground among a pile of equipment, her face full of hurt. She looked at Jack. Jack. Gary's gone crazy. Jack ignored her too, shaking off her grip and chasing after Gary, who carried me away. Unable to believe it, Jane looked at her empty hand and then we to Matt and Kate. Dad, Mom, look at them bullying me because of sister. But her tearful voice didn't get any attention from Matt or Kate. They followed us towards the door, wobbling. Jane watched the empty room, her beautiful face turning mean. She smashed things in anger. Even dead, you're stealing my spotlight. I'll ruin your reputation. You'll be hated even after you die. Floating in front, I couldn't help but sneer. Jane, you're still as cruel as ever. As my body was taken to the crematorium, my soul drifted along unwillingly. The four of them, covered in blood, looked like they had come from hell. The incinerator roared, but it couldn't brighten their sad eyes. A staff member came to get a signature from family. They started arguing again. Jack declared self-righteously, I married Luna. I'm the closest family. Gary threw the divorce agreement back at him. Jack, you're just the ex now. Jack froze, pain filling his eyes. Before Matt could speak, Gary threw another paper, ending their parental rights. You just said you wish she was never born. Matt slumped over and Kate fell to the ground crying. The staff handed Gary the consent form. Are you Luna's brother? Gary's hand trembled with the pen, unable to sign. In the end, it was Jane who arrived to sign the papers. The four of them, lost in their feelings, ignored her. Cremation was an hour away, the same amount of time until I would disappear completely. The system reported their regret levels. Matt and Kate's regret 80. Gary's regret 93. Jack's regret 87. Seeing this, they were still far from truly sorry. The system had no comforting words, but I wasn't sad anymore. I knew this would happen from the start. They were just caught up in the moment. A few words from Jane and they would forget any regret. Jane went back to her sweet act, comforting them one by one. Their sadness slightly faded with her words. The system warned, remorse declining, and Jane looked smug. Jack's secretary came in. Apparently, the photos Gary took of you have spread online. The hashtag Jack's wife was an escort from college is trending. Jack stomped up, smashing his phone in anger. How did you handle this? Get them all taken down now. Matt and Kate joined in. How can they say that about Luna? Realizing her mistake, Jane quickly changed her story. Oh, don't be mad. I saw those photos online before and asked Sis about them, and she said it was art. She wasn't careful letting those photos go everywhere. Can't blame others for talking. Jane's words were meant to sound concerned, but were actually full of malice. It was her usual trick. She didn't notice Gary's face dark with rage behind her. Jane kept talking, and Gary slapped her. What nonsense are you saying? Jane held her face, crying. Gary, I know you and Sis had a special bond, but you can't stop people from saying the truth. If she chose to take those kinds of photos, how is it others' fault? Maybe her koi looks were meant for some other guy. Gary kicked her over again. I took those photos. I locked them safely. How did they spread everywhere? He stepped closer to Jane. Only you know the password. Jane, forgetting she had spread them ages ago, stumbled back, her face pale. Everyone else suddenly understood and glared at her. Jane grew frantic, grabbing her chest and pretending to faint. Just then, Jack's secretary announced. Jack, the source said, an account named Jane sent them. The IP is still being tracked. Jack clenched his fist, speaking to Jane with fierce intensity. You better pray that person isn't you. Meanwhile, Matt and Kate's phone rang. What? You said you found the wrong child. They put the call on speaker and the police officer's voice came through clearly. Sorry, we've been cleaning up our data and found there was an error when the records were entered back then. Jane isn't your lost daughter. Jane had been tricked and brought from the north, coincidentally by the same scammer, and she was the same age, which led to the mix-up. Then where is our daughter? Matt asked. The officer's voice was stern. According to the scammer's confession, after they took your child, they found she was weak and sick, so they abandoned her in a pond. Kate fainted upon hearing this. After Matt thanked the officer and was about to hang up, the officer added, There's something of yours to pick up, a small gold locket. They said, when they kidnapped her, your older daughter fought back hard, biting and kicking, refusing to let go. They had to knock her out to take your younger daughter. They took the locket from your older daughter since she was hard to scam. Matt repeated in shock, Luna protected her sister. The officer, not understanding, simply acknowledged and hung up. Jane's face was pale, and she looked away nervously. I don't remember. I only recall being taken by the scammer when I was little. Gary kicked Jane hard. You always claimed Luna left you. How come now you can't remember? Jane crawled to the corner, trembling. My parents asked why my sister wasn't taken, but I was. So, I thought, yeah, it was them. How could a kid say something like that on their own? Matt couldn't hold back, his face red as he threw his phone at Jane. It hit her right in the face, causing her to cry out in pain, her nose bent to one side. Crying, she crawled towards Jack. Jack, save me. They're all crazy. Jack pulled out that flute. You're not from the South. How did you save me when you were 5? Seeing her lies exposed, Jane scrambled to run. Gary grabbed her by the hair, dragging her back. You're not Luna's sister. Where did you get this congenital illness from? Jane screamed like a pig being slaughtered. My parents told me I was sick. Jack gave a look and his assistant went to check. They returned with a thick stack of papers, all proof of Jane's deceit over the years. It was a simple plan, yet none of them had questioned or checked it thoroughly. At this point, my ashes were returned. Jane was thrown aside like a ragged doll, surrounded by watchful bodyguards. Kate was revived by Matt pinching her hand, and they all gathered around my urn, their eyes red with sadness and regret. The system announced, regret level achieved. Congratulations to the host for completing the task. I felt no joy, only asked, Where's my baby? You promised I'd see him. The system was silent for a moment, and a terrible feeling crept into my heart. Just as I was about to ask again, Jack gasped, Luna, is that you? I looked over, annoyed. It was like the four of them could see me. Gently, they put down the urn and rushed towards me, but they passed right through. Jack was sobbing, nearly choking. Honey, I was wrong. I was wrong. Gary was distraught. Luna, we promised forever. Matt and Kate were crying. Luna, it was our fault. You explained it so many times. I ignored them, shouting into the void. Where's my child? The four of them stood there speechless, and the system finally spoke. Host, your child gave you this chance to accumulate regret points. Host, he's been absorbed by the main system. It was his sacrifice to give you a second chance at life. Don't waste his kindness. My head felt numb, lost in thought. My little baby. He hadn't even seen the world and had sacrificed himself to protect me. The four of them also heard the system's voice. Are you saying Luna's child gave her a chance to come back to life? The system replied coldly, yes. The four of them were frantic. Luna, come back. We know we messed up. I wiped the tears from my face, looking at them coldly. You want me to come back? They nodded like crazy, terrified that I would disappear for good. I let out a sarcastic laugh. You regret it now. Jack pleaded. Luna, our baby gave us a chance. Please come back. Let me make it up to you. I replied indifferently. Jack, you yourself said that's not your child, but a bastard. I looked at their expressions and sneered. You regret it, but I don't want to anymore. I turned away and spoke to the system. Take me back. A white light surrounded me as my figure began to fade. Gary rushed forward. Luna, where are you going? Take me with you. Kate wailed. Luna, are you leaving us? The white light fully enveloped me and a warmth surrounded me. I knew it was my baby holding me. I didn't spare a final glance at their regretful faces. When I opened my eyes again, I saw my past life's parents. They happily hugged me. Dear, you've finally woken up. I felt the embrace I had longed for and started to cry. The system's voice became increasingly faint. Host, the reward has been delivered. Live well. A huge fortune appeared and my family was back together. Yet, there was still an emptiness inside me. In that other world, I didn't let anyone down, but I did owe my child an entire life. Even with the system sending me updates from the original world, I couldn't feel happy. Matt and Kate went completely mad, wandering the streets, searching for their daughter. Gary kidnapped countless people, demanding to know if they had a system. Jack stayed at the hotel where we first met, too drunk to ever return home. And that fake Jane experienced all the hardships I once endured. In less than a month, she tried to jump into the river, but Jack had arranged for bodyguards to fish her out. She lived a life where she couldn't live or die peacefully. But none of this could bring my baby's life back. Until one day, a little child bumped into my leg, looked up, and said, Mom, I've been looking for you for so long. At that moment, my empty heart finally felt whole, and the weak system said goodbye. A parting gift, host. You must be happy. I held my baby and nodded tearfully. I will. I promise. Jack stepped forward after a moment of silence. As soon as the door closed, Gary said. I raised my bound hand. I quietly watched my world post-death. He was sweating. Luna, one jolt. Gary kept shouting. The doctor turned around. Just then, Matt couldn't believe it.